They say one of the worst things to do is to show you welding on YouTube. But guys, this isn't that video. This video is for beginners that just kind of want to get into it and practice like this. Today I want to show you guys my beginner welding setup. I'm 38. I haven't done much welding since I was like in high school. I do have this tombstone welder over here, this stick welder. I do use it for very minor farm repairs, like when a bush hog and that kind of thing. But generally I haven't done much welding and I want to get back into it. And I decided I need to kind of get me a setup. I didn't have a table before. I didn't have any of this stuff. So I want to go over this setup. Right here, what you see to get all in, you're looking at about 600 bucks. And I feel like that is just a steal nowadays. This is a welding table, all kinds of fixtures and different things for that. A plasma cutter. I mean, when I was in high school in like 04, well, first off, that was the last time I've ever used a plasma cutter. I mean, we had, on our farm growing up, we just had acetylene torches and that kind of thing. But these take it to a whole new level. Back then, I don't know how new they were in 04, but I kind of feel like they were a new thing and they were very expensive at the time. I'm gonna go over how much this plasma cutter was, but it was less than $300. The other thing is I've got a Flux core wire feed welder here. This, guys, I paid less than $100 for. So let's get into it and I'll show you what all we got. This is a Klutch brand table, Klutch with a K. If you don't know, that is Northern Tools brand, house brand, I don't know. This table, I believe, is identical to the Harbor Freight table. If it's not identical, it's basically identical. So you could go with either one of those. I'll put a link to all this stuff in the description. But the Northern Tool table you can get on Amazon. And this table is $170 on Amazon. All right, it's 2 foot by 3 foot. Has a really nice metal top. This table comes with like a fixture kit, okay? And it's all the stuff you see here minus this. And the way this table works is, let's start with the clamps. It's really nice, actually. So the clamps are basically a threaded rod type deal. And you stick it through the hole and you just pop the nut on real quick. Doesn't have to be tight. And then if you pull that straight up, you know, it goes up and down. When you clamp something, it'll kind of twist and clamp. I think these are going to be great. The other thing you get is all these pieces here. And the way they work is they have these pieces right here. Okay? They have magnets in them and they're threaded. So there's magnets on the inside holes and threaded holes on the outside. The magnets go up under here and stick, and they basically convert the holes that's in the table into a threaded hole. So what this does is you take your little jig stop here, you put these little pieces on it, and you basically take these bolts here and put them on, okay? And then you basically have this stop, and you can position it however you want. I think these bolts are long for a reason, and I'll get to it later, but you know, you can have all these stops here, so you can bring a piece of metal in here, lift your clamp up, bring it over, set it down, clamp it down, and there you are. So you can do something like that. The other thing is it comes with these pieces here, right here. They will these pieces are V-notched, okay? So, and they have a flat cut into them in the bottom there, so they'll hold thin metal straight up. And what these pieces do, guys, they come with these other pieces too, so they kind of go into here. And you would put them down in your table, and these hold round pieces. Put a round piece in the V there, and now you've got a round piece holding steady, and you could kind of put you know, this over here like this, and you could have a round piece here and a round piece here coming into here, and you could make that weld there. All of this stuff is meant to kind of work together, which I thought was cool. So like these pieces, guess what? These pieces fit right into there, okay? So now, don't know all the use cases for it, but these will fit right into there. And then you can do whatever you want with these pieces. So that's kind of cool. I think the bolts kind of for these work down into these threads. Let's try that out. Yep, they do. So I'm sure there's some type of use case for that. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna figure all this stuff out. For the first upgrade, the table comes with threaded leveling feet, okay? What happens is there is a welded nut on this little flange right here, and these just thread up into there, and then you have a jam nut. All right, I like mobile stuff in my shop. So these casters, the glorious thing is this is a metric 10 1.5 thread. Well, that's what casters are. So these are threaded casters. I'll put these in the description. But they basically thread right into that nut that's in there. Let me get you in close. See that nut right there? They thread into the welded on nut, which is actually on the bottom here. There's a black nut, and then they come with their own nut to lock everything together. So I went with 3-inch casters. You can get 3, 4, or 5-inch. I got 3-inch because I didn't want to raise the height of the table any more than I had to. The other upgrade that I made, I feel like this is something that would be really nice if they added to it from factory, but it does not come with the shelf right here. So it basically is like an angle iron frame. See how it's got the lip down in there? So I went to a local guy. It's actually a really cool place. And I got, I think this is 1/8-inch sheet metal. He had a selection there, and I said, hey, I want to be able to put sheet metal down into this, and I don't want to brace it or anything. And this is what we came up with. This was $17, okay? And he actually sheared it for me. Brought it home, and it dropped right down in here. It's tight too. And I sprayed it with black enamel. This was $9.99 at Harbor Freight, or you can get them on Amazon too. I'll maybe throw a link up to one of those. But this is magnetic. So, and it's hard too, it's stiff. So it's gonna go there, and it is not gonna move with your electrode in there. This is the Harbor Freight titanium brand Easy Flux 125. It's 125 amps. My Tombstone welder over there is 180 amps. So this isn't gonna replace everything, but look how small it is. Guys, this thing weighs 15 pounds. It looks pretty nice. It's an inverter welder, has very nice knobs on it. This welder, let me look at my notes, is typically on Harbor Freight for, I wanna say it's on there now for $149.99. I got this thing, guys, I forget what deal it was. They had a coupon for $99. So that's what I got this for. I looked right now, right before this video, they have a coupon for $124.99. So you can always get this thing on sale. So I got the wire in the welder. I don't know that I've ever done that before because, you know, like I say, I have an arc welder. I may have done this in high school, but it's been a long time. But everything's good, and I've got the welder hooked up. I had to do that to feed the wire through everything. That was very easy. And there you go. This is the plasma cutter. This is an Arc Captain Cut 55. This thing, guys, cost me 260 bucks. I'm just blown away, you know, at how cost effective this stuff is nowadays. Look at this, guys. This thing weighs 19 pounds. This thing will cut up to 1/2 inch clean cut or 3/4 inch severance cut, which means like it'll kind of look like an oxyacetylene torch cut it. This machine runs on 120 or 240. And the way they do that, the plug off the machine is right here. That's your 240 plug. Actually, it's the same plug on my welder. I can just plug it right up. If you want to run it on 110, they give you this little pigtail. Plug that up, plug that into 110. On 120 volts, it will cut a 1/2 inch maximum cut and 1/3 inch, that's how they have it in the book, clean cut. So it'll clean cut a little over 5/16 of an inch material. On 240, it'll cut 3/4 inch maximum cut and 1/2 inch clean cut. Again, it'll do all that, guys, for 260 bucks. I mean, it's unbelievable. You do need an air compressor. It's got a built-in regulator back here on the back. I mean, this thing is super nice. Comes up. It knows it's on 120. Right here, hope you can see that. It also has different modes, 2T and 4T. It's where you either hold the trigger or not, I believe. I'm gonna do the one where you have to hold the trigger. On 120, it won't let you go beyond 35 amps. See how I'm all the way up on the green? When I plug this up to 240, it'll let you go all the way up to 55 amps. I don't think you want to do that in the open air often, but I'll do it once to show you. So I actually went ahead and put both of them down here on the cart. Look how little room those things take up. I mean, I was fully anticipating the shelf being pretty full, but man, I've got all kind of room to store my squares and different things over there. So I've got a 20-foot piece of 3/16 inch flat stock down here. I want to cut that into 3-inch pieces so I can weld them together and practice with the welder. The other thing I did was I've got these Harbor Freight hooks, magnetic hooks, and I've got my helmet hanging here, works perfect. I've got another one over here. I've been using those hooks for all kind of things. Also use them to hold my most frequently used air tools there on the side of my air tank. So just give you a few ideas, and then obviously I showed you that earlier. This is kind of the first use of my table, but I've got the clamps on there. It's a lot of tension on this right here, but I've got it clamped down. Now I can just come in here and cut sections of this off. I've got my offset here because I want to be on that line, but you've got the guide here. So let's go ahead and cut it. Not a bad cut. I find the hardest thing is knowing what speed to go. But that comes right off pretty much. And then that's a really nice cut. I mean, other than you can get it smoother than that. So try number 2 here. Whew, that's a good cut. Let me bring you in closer. Look at that. Really nice cut on that one. Almost 0 slag on the back. I cut like 4 pieces that I'm going to use to weld. I mean, that is a smooth cut. It's very dependent on how fast you go and the amps you have it set at and all of that. So it's only going to get better as I use it more. But when you have a plasma cutter, when you're used to cutting with like torches and grinding cutoff wheels and stuff like that, reciprocating saws and all that, I mean, for less than $300, a plasma cutter opens up a whole new world for you. So anyways, let's weld these up and try that welder out. I'm gonna weld this joint right here. I just have this one up just to stabilize this piece here. But for those of you that didn't take shop class, we would just take hundreds of these. I think we even use 1/4 inch, but hundreds of these, and just make all kind of welds. I did 2 welds with it just now to kind of get it dialed in a little bit. Again, I don't really know what I'm talking about because, you know, I haven't really welded in so long. I haven't really done any kind of just practice welding or anything like that, really probably in 15, 20 years. They say one of the worst things to do is to show you welding on YouTube. But guys, this isn't that video. This video is for beginners that just kind of want to get into it and practice like this. So let's see what we got here. So you do have to remember with a flux core welder, you are going to have slag just like you would with an arc welder. So here's the weld. Basically, I don't know, what, my 3rd weld or whatever with this welder. It runs really smooth. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm not used to a, you know, inverter type newfangled welder. I'm used to a more mechanical type welder, and I'm so glad I learned on one of these guys. But if you learn on one of these, it makes you realize kind of how easy the newer technology can be. Try number 2 here. See what we got. Alright guys, there it is. Let's get the slag off of it and check it here. So I meant to show y'all with these tables, you can just ground your devices right to the table. In case you were wondering, there's number 2. Not too bad. Not sure if I need more heat, less heat. Don't know. So I think the last weld I'm going to try is a T-joint type weld right here. I haven't done one of these in a long time. I'm going to come through and weld that, and later on, once it cools down, I guess, weld the other side for practice. So here's the first T-joint with that welder. Not bad, but not super good. It's almost like I need to be more angled down or something. It's almost like more of the weld is on the side. So I need to practice with that. This right there is weld number 2 on the T-joint. In some ways, it doesn't look as good as number 1, but I kind of felt like number 1 was more to the side, like I was saying. So I don't know. Y'all let me know what you think. Not sure what I really need to do to improve on that, but anyways, not bad for like the first 20 minutes of using this welder. Any of y'all that are thinking about possibly getting into welding, or like me, getting into welding after a long break, roughly 20 years, I just wanted to show y'all at least what the options were nowadays. Again, all of this here is basically around $600. You can get you a welding table, a nice Harbor Freight Flux core welder, and a plasma cutter. So with that said, guys, I'm gonna stop the video here, and I will put up here the video that kind of got me back into welding. I had to repair a little something on our yard roller, and I was welding thin metal, and I was using my arc welder over here. If you want to check that out, I'll meet you over there. And on that note, y'all have a good one.